Unstructured data versus structured data. SEO wins. And it is for SEO wins because you have to consider a lot of things, when you are creating content and you're doing a lot of things at the same time. This is a very important decision that you need to make. So today is a great day to have a great day. And one of the great things that I am going to be discussing with you today is how to make sure that you can measure out your data structure, right? How do you measure out how people find your content? Why is your content important? How do you make sure that technically you have the right information to give people? You're able to help people understand, what they're doing. And how they're doing things is also a huge, 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 huge discovery point, because you're not just going to create content for the sake of just creating content, right? You want to have content that has data support. You want to have content that has data reports. You want to have data that has information you can actually use. So it's not just the issue of creating content, right? It needs to be data filled. Like I would actually say that's a double entendre, right? Because it's a data field. When you input data values into a spreadsheet, you're putting in information, right? Because if you're going to use that spreadsheet to search for something, for those who use spreadsheets, for those who know how to use spreadsheets and work through values, if you've used a spreadsheet before, you know what I'm referring to. So when you're discovering how your content is, it's not just about content. That's why I didn't put unstructured content versus structured content. It's data we're working with. When you start working with data, because I'm a data scientist, so I'm very specific on how I can analyze graphs, how I can analyze, percentages, how I'm able to analyze consumer behavior, intelligence. It's not just SEO, because everybody can do SEO. AI can do SEO. So what makes you special about that? So it's something that you have to think through and ask yourself, what is the major thing? Everyone can record a video. Everyone can record a podcast. Everybody can turn on a microphone, right? So what's going to make you special from everybody else is the structure of your business. That's the major thing. It's the structure of your business. If you want to have a good structure, you have to think about the structure in itself. And if you want to do that, please make sure that you click the link above and you'll see a section that says book a call. And once you book a call, you'll get into the calendar and we can talk about it for 15 minutes, have a very in-depth discussion so that you just don't guess. Because there's one thing to guess and there's one thing to know how to save time. So I want to help you save time today and also this holiday too. So if you have a website, if you have a business, this is for you, right? So we're going to talk about these two things: unstructured data versus structured data for SEO wins. Welcome to the room. I see you all. Thanks for being here today. The replays are on, so if you have any questions, feel free to come back. You can save the replay by tapping on the three dots on the top right, and you can save the replay so you can come back. It's really hard to find replays these days on Clubhouse. So if it's not posted out in the hallway, you may not find it. So please click the link at the very top if you want to even get closer in connecting so that you don't miss out on any exclusive information that I give, because I run rooms here in the Marketing Club on a daily basis around this time of the day. And it's an international app, so I know everybody's in a different space, and in a different environment. So if you're here, please put in the chat where you're from. You guys may never know, you might be in the same city. So please put in the chat where you're calling from, where you are. That would be really good for us to at least break the ice, get to know people. It's not just about me in the room, it's about all of us, because we're all here to share information and we're all here to learn. So please put in the chat, let me know where you are. I'm based in Houston, Texas, and I'm excited to be here with you guys today. So looking into the topic of discussion for today, right? Let me start off with unstructured data. The reason why your data is unstructured is for three reasons. UK, what's going on, Morale? Thanks for being here. I know this is international, so it's not just one place. So thank you for breaking the ice, because I know it's everyone's like, who's going to type first? So thank you for doing that. There are three things you have to look through, right? When it comes to unstructured data. The first thing, the very first thing is not even your website, it's your domain. Where are you buying your domain from? Now, people may say that doesn't matter. It matters. You know why it matters? Because for every domain that you have, there's something called a name server, right? There's something called a name server. Exactly. Like there's namecheap.com, there's GoDaddy, there's Bluehost. Like you guys know the answers. I can like this is something you already know. So it's not new information to you. But here's the thing. Here's a caveat. And here's where most people miss it. There's something called a name server, right? And when you have a name server, it's pointed to a hosting platform, right? There are different hosting platforms out there you can use, right? Very many options you can check. Just type in hosting platform. There's on GoDaddy. Like you guys know these things. So it's not really new information. But what I want to tell you is what you're already using. There's something about what you're using that you're not thinking through or wanting to know or maybe have not found out that I want to bring to your attention so that you're also thinking about these things too. Whenever you're paying for a website, restructuring a website, we do those things. We build websites, we rebuild websites, and we optimize websites, right? So there's building, there's rebuilding, and there's optimizing. So we can build from scratch or rebuild from where you left off or what you need to revamp or renovate. And then we can optimize it so that you're able to be seen on the search engines. Because what benefit is it to you to have a website that is not even being seen on the first page, or not being seen on AI overview, or not being seen or heard on Alexa or Siri? How do you not be there if that's really what your intention is? So to get there, you need some structure. Everything needs structure. A building has structure. A system has structure. A family has structure, right? So you need to have structured data as well. So unstructured data is if your hosting provider is not giving you the right bandwidth, right? Because you're paying for bandwidth too, right? So you can be on Wix, you can be on Squarespace, you can be on WordPress, Webflow, Tilda, you can be on Duda, you can be everywhere, right? These are all websites that I've mentioned that you can build websites on, right? And they do so well, really, really well. But the problem is your domain is just on your domain dashboard within your DNS servers, right? And if you don't have structured data, then the domain you're sending emails from, the domain you're sending, you know, blogs from, the domain you're sending, intel from, those are going to be places you have to discover and think through and ask, are these the right places that we want to be in, right? Because your domain matters. When you have a good domain, it means that your domain has, like somebody can remember. So it starts from that point, from your domain. It starts from that very single point. Like, what am I gonna call this? Like when you're naming a plant, when you're naming a pet, when you're naming your car. Some people name their cars. Some people, when you're naming something, when you're naming your baby, when you're naming a business, when you're naming something, you think about the name because that's the name that people are gonna call. So if that name is gonna make you call me and respond in a good way, then I need to make sure that name makes sense. It actually resonates. If it's something that actually sounds good to the ear, then it builds structure. It builds, all those things as well. Welcome, Dee. Welcome to the room. I'm glad to have you as well, Nzea. You know you know that when you create content, your content has to, you know how they say the content has to content, but your content has to be structured for the content to be revealed to the end user. So you can have a website all day. I can scan your website from the back end, and this is a technical thing. So if you have a website, put it in the chat so I can check that if you want me to check. And I'm not checking for your SEO, I'm checking for your structure. There's a difference. So today is a little different. You know, we talk about SEO and, keywords and stuff, but when there's no structure, it's just like a bunch of bricks, like a word count or Scrabble falling down. You don't want to have a Dumbo effect. So you want to have it structured. So I'm going to talk about the unstructured a little bit more. But before I do, I wanted to welcome you, Miss Andrea, to the room. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm good. Just at work, but I thought, let me pop in.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. So we have to think through the data points, right? And what are the data points we're looking out for? What is the name of our domain? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? Is it long? Is it short? Is it a .com? Is it a .org? Is it a .co? Is it a .io? Like, what is the thing? Like for me, my website, I said I don't want to do a .com. I just felt like no, I want to do something different. So I did .online. So if you look at the website above, the website is www.playinc.online, right? And I did a .online because you are online. So I was very specific with my process, because I don't see a lot of onlines out there. I don't see, if there's another one, I would love to see one, but I'm sure there is. There are billions of websites out there. But what I'm bringing to you is that if somebody's going to think about what you're doing, they want to also know exactly, okay, yeah, .com, you're online. It's a .com, it's a web. But when you're also online, you want people to think about the words that they're processing. That's another thing. So if I'm talking about bakery, if I'm talking about cookies, if I'm talking about Tesla, if I'm talking about ducks, if I'm talking about, Crocs, it's going to change, because every single thing is going to have a different connotation. It's going to have a different, everything that I said just now, with completely different objects, completely different things, right? But you'll know exactly what they all are. So when you associate your brand with something that you want people to see, then it takes time. And over time, people get to understand that you're talking about this thing. You're explaining something. You're able to build and understand, okay, what is the goal? What are we trying to structure here? Are we trying to structure the information? Are we trying to structure the tone? What are we trying to put in structure? Because that structure is going to become something that people are going to still, keep seeing. And the structure, let me just also give you this, insight. The structure is primarily for the search engines. Why? Because the search engines are always looking for new information. What's the latest news? That's when you Google something, it tells you latest news, right? So when you're looking for data fields to fill in, you're looking at the core. And what is the core? The core is giving people information about what your domain is about, and then adding that information with branded content, right? So there's a mixture of branded content and non-branded content. So branded content would just be information about your business, what you guys have done, or we went to do this charity event, or we signed up or partnered with this company, or we signed a deal. That's news. That's community news. That's business news. That's product news, right? Because you're learning about the product through PR. You're not really buying the product. You're not really paying for anything, but you're paying attention to the information, right? So the more information you're giving people, the more you're able to structure them in a way they can actually receive the information, right? So when you think about structured data, you're looking at the pinnacle of information. You're looking at the structure of how people want to connect with your brand, right? Because you have to think about your domain. That's why if you're sending out emails or you're sending out, content and there's a at gmail.com, it's not gonna fly. I was talking with my realtor yesterday, and she's planning on, getting her website and, getting everything going because she does so well, right? And I was like, okay, let me see what kind of website you're looking out for. So she showed me two websites. I showed her one, she showed me one. So we looked at two and then we found a third one in the process. So one of the ones that she had a very good like layout, very clean. And then the one I showed her had a very good drone effect, right? But the problem was the one that I had was that the person's email at on top of like the website, it was at gmail.com. And the person that she had was at her domain.com. So if I was to do business with a real estate developer or a real estate agent or anyone in real estate, and I go online and I see it at gmail.com and I see at domain.com, please tell me, put it in the chat. Which of the two would you rather connect with? Would you connect with the one that's at gmail.com or the one that's at domain.com? Domain. Okay. Andrea, thanks for that. Why domain? And guys, please put in the chat. We'd love to hear your thoughts too.
Because you naturally think that's the brand of that person. You naturally think that's more authentic and it's them and it's more professional, in my opinion. Naturally, that's what you would think.
Exactly. Thank you for bringing that. Yes, it's a major thing that people miss out because when you see an at gmail.com, it means you're not even investing in your brand. You're not investing, you're paying for that domain, but you're not paying for a workspace. You're not paying for a mailbox. Imagine having a brick and mortar location without having a mailbox. How are you going to receive mail? It's the same concept online, but people kind of miss it because there's no structure there. So I showed her, she loved both websites, but the one that won was the one that she had because that's a person she already knows. So I just like to give contrast so that we can also see what people are doing. When it comes to certificates, we couldn't see her certificates. We tried to look her online. She's a realtor in Vegas, in Nevada. We couldn't see anything. We couldn't see even certificates. We couldn't see, actual licenses. We couldn't see those things. We couldn't see those things. So it's like I would, if I was to do research, I can't work with that person because I can't. I'm actually stressed now. I can't find that information I'm looking for because it's not available to me. So that structure is broken, right? What did D say? Gmail is personal from familiarity. Domain.com has a professional appeal. Yes, exactly. Exactly. It changes because when you send an email to that person actually takes you seriously. They take like they take you seriously. It's a whole different ballgame. I've seen it happen. I've done business with an at gmail.com before because the business now is 11 years. So in the beginning, early days, I used to have an at gmail.com. I'll be so proud to, tell you my email. I'll be like, yo, email me. Let's talk. But in the beginning, of course, you're bootstrapping, you're starting, you're trying to figure out, okay, what to do. And that's a decade ago. Things are different now. Now you can't, that's not an excuse. It's not an excuse at all because if I'm sending you an email and you're receiving at gmail.com as a broadcast, first of all, you're violating policy. That's the first thing. You're violating policy because you're using a domain that you don't own on a platform that you don't own either. So it's like taking your at gmail.com and going to MailChimp and signing up with a Gmail account so you can send emails to your list. That's what it sounds like. And it shouldn't be like that because you're using two people's properties and you don't even have yours. So you're literally trespassing, in other words. So you have to have that exchange of value because when they tell you connect your domain, it means connect your property. It means connect your house. It means connect your license. If you're here and you have a business, you have to do it in a way that is structured. So when people see that, people can connect with you. Why is this so important? Because the last thing I'm going to say in today's room is going to be the most important part of this topic, because I'm leaving that for the last part because I want to build it from the ground up. So if you're not looking at that domain and asking yourself, okay, I bought a domain. What else am I doing with this domain? I'm using it for emails. I'm using it for support. I'm using it for, business networking. So it's on my business card. I'm using it for, you know, maybe signups or retargeting campaigns. I'm using it to just, connect with people and have it visible, right? I'm using it to sign up for products, because when you sign up to, software, you're going to sign up with an email. So are you going to use your Gmail, or are you going to use your domain? So like the product utility is so high impact. Even the podcast, it's an asset, right? So even my podcast, it's signed up with the official email, with the domain email. It's not signed up with Favour at Gmail. It's not. That's not it, because that's not that's the business. It's not me. I have to separate myself from the business. So that if somebody is to evaluate the business, they're not evaluating me. They're evaluating the business. What does the business have? Emails, courses, podcasts, services. All those things. Toolbox, resources, workshops. Those are things that you can actually see as resources that people can quantify and also pre-qualify you to see if you're eligible, right? And those are things that happen over time. So when you have a domain, the domain is being used for communication. There's no point of having an email and not using it. It makes no sense. So when you send out an email, that's giving you structured data, because you're connecting with somebody on the other side. And if you're getting an email that is actually at this.com, that person will take you seriously from the jump. So they'll know, one, you mean business. Two, you have ethics. Three, you have professional etiquette. Four, you're able to discuss at a high level. And five, you're building respect and building trust, because you're talking to somebody you don't know. Someone can listen to you for a whole day, a whole year, a whole decade, and really understand who you are and not even do anything with you, or decide to do something one day because they actually love what you're saying. So it's either they're going to know you, like you, and trust you, or they're just going to know you because you're there. So you have to really understand how do you build up those levels. So, and it starts from those things. So having that structured data piece is very important from your domain. The second thing about unstructured data I wanted to talk about, right? There are three things. The first one is your domain, your household. Make sure everything is, good to go. It's very simple. It's very formatted. It's everything is responsive, and you're having error messages. Now, the second thing about unstructured data is for you to flip that to structured data, right? What you have to do is create content that is going to drive data value, data points. I call it, like, if you think about gamification, if you go to a casino or you go to you're playing a game on an arcade, you can actually earn points, right? Because you're winning, you're earning points. So for everything that you do, for every action, there's a reaction. So the same application matters here. So you have a domain, meaning that you have a car, right? You have a car. Your car is on the website. Your car is on the web, right? There are 1.9 billion websites. That means there are 1.9 billion cars. So let's not think about websites, let's think about cars so you can understand this concept, right? So there are 1.9 billion cars driving on the website. Each car is driving at a different level capacity. It's having a different, base. It's having a different, timeline, right? And cars, of course, that cars depreciate over time, but in reverse, this is an asset you're using online, which is giving you traffic, 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 traffic. So if you think about this car that you have, which is in a domain pack, now when you send this car and you're driving this car to, let's say, the finish line, and the finish line is, an article that somebody needs to read about something they want to know, how will you know that that's exactly what they want to read? How will you know that? How you're going to know that is by asking the question or finding out the answers to the questions that people are already asking. So going to platforms like Reddit, going reddit.com, going to pinterest.com, going to google.com, going to youtube.com, going to answerthepublic.com, going to answersocrates.com, going to also asked.com, also going to what's the other platform I wanted to give you? Yes, Spark Toro with one R, sparktoro.com. These are websites that are free they're free for life. Some of them are paid, but you can use them for free if you want to get started. Now, when you're using these platforms, type in there what your consumer or what your customer would type. Don't type in what you like, type in what you think they would type. So let's have a random example right now. Let's role play real quick. Anyone can put in the chat. Andrea, if you're available, you can also let me know. What two words can you say that actually let's not make it two, let's make it three, because three sounds more contextual. What three words would you type in that you know people will want to search that will reach to you? Something that they can type that if they type these three words, at least they're closing to my website. They're somewhere close. They don't know me yet, but they'll know me once they click on the search box. Your messenger might be busy, but anyone could put in the chat. Okay, diagnose.
Done.
Sorry.
Just done it. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Okay, I just saw it. Okay, so diagnosis breast beat. Okay, so I'm going to put those three words together. Okay, so I'm going to type in exactly how you've written that, because that's what most people would type. Because I want to show you how people type so that you can think about how people type, and then the results that you see is now what you now reflect back to your website. So that if the same person types it the same way, you can be also the person that can actually receive that signal. So I'll type in diagnosis, even with the special characters as well, then breast, and then beat. Okay. So I hit enter. So what I get, right, is before I even go to the first link, I'm seeing four questions. Four questions. The first one is, why is my breast pulsating? The second one is, what are the first symptoms of Paget or Paget? Forgive me if I made a mistake on that word. Disease of the breast. What is that same name's disease of the breast fatal? And what are the three types of breast palpation? Now, those four questions, because I typed in these three words, I now have four questions. And of course, the more you click on the questions, the more questions show up. And then I'm seeing a YouTube video that was published 2 weeks ago that has 300 views. It's 1 minute 30 seconds, and it's at a breast cancer awareness event, I think. And yeah, beating breast cancer with early diagnosis. So because you wrote diagnosis, breast, and beat, the YouTube video has all those three words in the title: beat, breast, and diagnosis. So you see where I'm going with this? When you now start writing your podcast titles, your article titles, your YouTube titles, the way you see Google respond or suggest to the titles that you've written in the search box, the faster it is for you to get to that top search. Because now if I look in like, why is my breast pulsating? I'm looking at an article from Everyday Health saying that vibrations in the breast, should I worry? Question mark. Right. And then it takes me to the website. I'm able to see this website. It was updated in July 17th, 2024. But here's the thing. This is something that I want to also let you know too. When you see a website that says when it was last updated, your next question should be, when was it published? That's the next question you should ask. And sometimes you may not know what that answer is because you may not have the, tools or the Chrome extensions or even the time to go there and see what it is. But when you see that, it tells you that people are constantly updating their page. So you as an end user, I'm seeing it right now, July 17th, 2024 was when it was last updated. But if I go to the back, which is going to be the last thing I'm going to talk about, which is for structured data, this article was first written. Actually, do you want to guess? Let me, does anyone want to guess? Andrea, you want to guess? Put in the chat. Just let me know if anybody guesses this right. This is going to be very interesting. Um, Tell me, you don't need to tell me the date or the month or the day of the month. Just tell me the year. Can anyone guess? Put in the chat, put the year in, and let me know. This
The year
article,
of,
sorry?
the year
Yeah,
of,
the year of. What year was it first published?
what article? Sorry,
The article I
just
just
one
talked
more.
about, I'm going to put the link in the
Oh,
chat
okay,
so that you guys
okay.
can actually see it, because I also want you to see what I'm seeing. Um, Let me take all the extra. Yeah, boom. All right. There was a lot of um descriptive text there. So that's everyday health. Okay, it says four-page error. Okay, hold on, guys. Hold on 1 second. You might have to get the full one. I have to give you the full dose. Okay, boom. All right, so click that. And for some reason, it keeps. So just click on the blue text. And if you notice, when you click on the blue text, it's going to take you to the website and it's going to give you like a highlighter. If you click on that link, it will take you there. So I see somebody guessed. Dolores said 2002. Okay, that's a great guess. It's a great guess. Okay. Andrea, do you want to go? That's not the answer, but we're getting there. Anybody want to try? I'm heading somewhere with this, so let me know. Let me know. Okay, maybe you guys are in the article. 2000. No, we're almost there. We're a little bit far, but we're close. Sorry, that's not gonna help you, but it's like, tell me, let me know. Okay, all right. So let me say this, Dolores, you got it right. It was a half mark, but it wasn't the full mark because this company was founded in 2002. So you got that right. But this page that you clicked on was first published. It was first published July 28th, 2008. So they last updated this article July 17th, 2024. So what am I trying to say here? Structure. Structure. Like, structure is your best friend. Is your best friend. And sometimes people don't like structure. I understand. But the algorithm needs structure to survive or to help you help your clients or help your community. What are your thoughts, Andrea? You sure? Okay, Andrea might still be in shock mode. So let me know if you're back. But I'm glad that we did this quick exercise. And the reason why this is so important is because, and this is a medical webpage, by the way, right? But Google will always give you the latest information. That's why there's a room that I talked about. There's a room I had, and I said that in that room, I remember saying about whether you should update your content versus create new content. And I gave you guys the percentages. You should update for every one or two posts that you publish for the first time, at least update one or two more posts that you've already previously published. Because the more you're publishing posts, the more you need posts republished. because republishing means that you're refreshing the system. When you refresh your page, you're refreshing it because you want a new look. So if you're not refreshing, imagine if they wrote this in 2008 and they never updated this article ever. It wouldn't be in the top search results, not because it's old, but because it wasn't updated and there was no structure. But you, the user, will not know when this was first done because there's no data report, there's no tracking. But everything on the web has something connected. So now with this company, I can see the name of the person. I can actually see, let me scroll down. I can see their LinkedIn company profile. I can see the images. I can see when they updated their images in 2021. That was November 18th. Yeah, 2021. So now when you look at the URL of this page too, that's another thing about structure. It says everydayhealth.com slash breast dash cancer dash diagnosing dash, I don't know what that ETINGIN is, forward slash vibrations dash and dash breast dash cancer. So you gave me 3 words, Andrea, and I've given you a whole whole world map. What are your thoughts on this? Because I would love to hear what you're thinking.
Damn, where's my website? I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, so what? They couldn't even recommend my blog? Damn. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm not going to lie.
That's why I'm saying, Andrea, there got to be structure in the content. You can create content all day, but if the structure isn't there, and I don't talk about this a lot. That's why I use today's room to just address it one time, because I don't repeat myself or talk about the same topic. I always have something new to talk about, but I always like to address one topic, make sure I cover every single thing, so that if you ever want to go back to it in 2 years, by 2038, 2040, you'll come back to this exact page here so that you can also get that information, because it's the same thing. The same way the school system has been there for hundreds of years, you're learning the same thing over and over. There's some things that do not change when it comes to systems and structures. When you're building a house, it's the same way you build a pyramid. You start off with a blueprint. So it's the same concept, but on a different soil, on a different, ground. So if we're looking at a structure, our structure has to have, a good piece. And why would this structure be important? Because in this website that you just see, there are different things you see there. They have a H1, vibrations in the breast. Should I worry? Question mark. Now, that question, should I worry, has already added an emotional connotation to the context. If I just said vibrations in the breast, okay, I can click that. But the question that now asks that person for more contextual, briefing is, should I worry? Now the person is worried. The person wasn't worried before they read what you said, but now they're worried because they're wondering what you're worrying about. So you're creating curiosity, which is technically going to lead to a click. So when you're leading people to the click, you're leading people to the structure of your house. So when somebody clicks on that link, now they're like, okay, let's answer this question. Why should I feel, or why do I feel vibrations in my breast? That's the first question. Then you're going to see H3 tags. The first one is H2. The next one is H3. You'll see all the different things, hormone fluctuations, hormone therapy, cancer treatment. And then you now see how to spot changes in your breast. You now see a video. Then before you know it, you'll see, when to call a doctor. You start seeing all these things. You start seeing videos. You start seeing context. You start seeing bullet points. You start seeing resources. Now, that is giving people structure. And you know why this is also very important too? Because you know the author of this article. That's where structure comes in. Because this was not written by AI. This was 2008. So imagine the author of this article. Her name is Joy. Joy Eme. That sounds Nigerian. Joy had wrote that article a long time ago. She's a health writer, she's a content strategist, she's an editor, she's in the health space, and she's doing well. Now, if you look at her bio, right, she has a page of her own. She has a website called Health Writers Den. She does oncology. That's what I'm saying. You can see her awards, education. Yeah, I knew it. Nigeria. I'm seeing her resume right here. Yeah, I got it right. So she has different articles. She's writing about different things like do mammograms hurt, 3D versus 2D mammograms. Like she's talking and going in with her content. And then I can see her LinkedIn. So when I click on her LinkedIn, it takes me to her LinkedIn, and guess what? Now I'm connected. She has about 10,000 followers on LinkedIn. So now I can reach out to her on LinkedIn and say, hey, I read your article about this. Would love to know this. And even for you, Andrea, she's written for HuffPost, she's written for Healthline, she's written for Medical News Today. So imagine reaching out to her and saying, hey, I would like to, feature my story, tell you my story. Would that be something you're up to? And then she features your story. You end up on a great, she gets a call as soon as I say this. But you're creating content that is going
Don't
to allow.
worry, I'm here. I'm
You're
here.
here. Okay. So you're creating content that is going to give you that authority. But guess what? When she features you, guess what she's going to link back to? Your website. Because if your website is not linking back, that whole article is impactful, but it's not rewarding to you, the author, because there's no sharing, there's no link, there's no backlink, there's no reference. And if you say, hey, just take them to my YouTube channel, connect it there, you're giving YouTube first dibs. You're giving YouTube first ranking. You're already giving YouTube the portfolio. They didn't ask for it, but because you don't have a website, they'll connect it. But you have a website. So you connect your website, but it's not a WordPress website, it's a domain website. Because there's a difference. There's WordPress.com, there's WordPress.org. Those are two different, that's a whole different discussion. But they're two different websites. But at the same time, you have to have your domain connected. I know. You have to have your domain connected. I don't talk about these things much, but today I said I'm going to technically just draw the line and make sure everybody knows this so that you can come back, do research, and at least have some starting points. So just connecting with her is big. So I would say, Andrea, connect with her on LinkedIn. I'll send you her LinkedIn if you want, like no pressure. This is just me doing research. This is like live case study right now. And that's how I connect with people because I feel like people like to have a good connection. Imagine me reaching out to you and saying, I love what you did, and it's a story, and then you're on my podcast, and then you have an article, and then you have a video, and now you're on Google. Now you're featured. Now somebody else emails you. Now you get on a show. Now somebody connects with you. You're talking at an event. Like these things happen. Like I'm giving you guys a real life scenario that just happened with 3 words. 3 words has led to a LinkedIn profile. So imagine all the digging and research you can do if you have structured content and someone can actually lead back to you. What are your thoughts, Andrea?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's good. I guess this is a way to network, right? And I think that saying, your net worth is your net worth. So I guess it's a good idea. I mean, it's a good suggestion. Why not? I'll shoot my shot with her. So yeah, why not? And see how that goes. Um, yeah, we need to definitely talk about this domain and yeah, thing that you just said earlier. I'm just like, what? Okay, yeah. We need to talk at some point. But yeah, yeah, yeah. That's that.
No problem. No problem. We'll definitely get that sorted out for sure. I'm happy that we're addressing the problem and we're not ignoring the problem so that the problem doesn't become a bigger problem in a year from now. Because you can only imagine the number of leads, the number of contacts, the number of connections, the number of LinkedIn requests you can get. You have to think about those things. I texted you her LinkedIn, I said
Yeah,
Joy,
I've got it. Got it. Yeah.
Andrea. So, because I'm looking at her LinkedIn profile right
There's
now.
gonna be a lot of joy, joyful news maybe. So it's all right.
I have a
I'm
good
seeing
feeling
that.
about this. If you play your cards well, if if you know what you got to do, you're natural. So, I'm sure you definitely, knock it out. And it's that authenticity that people look for. It's not like what are you trying to get out of me? It's like, okay, we're here to serve humanity, we're
Yeah.
here to serve families, we're here to serve people. And that when that changes, everything changes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, I hear that. I totally resonate with that. Absolutely.
Thanks for being here. I think this room was definitely, you said the word and you got what you didn't expect. So that's what this room's happened for all the time. Something always happens in the clubhouse marketing club room. And I'm always excited because somebody leaves with value, somebody leaves with understanding, because I don't want to waste your time at all. That's the last thing I want to do. I want to give you value, value, value. But at the same time, the value is progressive value. It's not just stagnant value. It has to have some type of flow, cash flow. It has to be a responsive, it has to be the feedback loops. Speaking of feedback loops, when it comes to structure and the domain, I sent an email yesterday, two emails. One was in no at yeah, one was in the morning, one was at night. And the one I sent at night was the one that I put a poll in there. And I asked people, and please put in the chat too, because I love to hear from you too. How do you learn or acquire new information? Is it through text, audio, video, or image? Put in the chat for me. I would just like to know that too. How do you like to acquire new information when you're really interested in something that you want to learn about? Image. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Let me know in the chat. Welcome, Erica C as well. Pesman, Wendy, CB, writer, Vanessa, Reggie, D in the building, Ajami, thanks for being here. Dolores and Ewaloa, thanks for being here as well. Colors of the image. Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. So I sent an email out, and this is why I love polls. Everyone loves polls. LinkedIn loves polls. Threads love polls. X love polls, or that's Twitter love polls. Instagram stories love polls. YouTube loves polls in the community. So polls everywhere are great because people like to choose. People like to vote. People like to make a decision. People like to take action because that voting tells somebody about where you stand, right? So, and that's a good thing because it also shows your commitment to the cause, your commitment to what you want. And that feedback is so important because I wouldn't want to waste my time giving you broccoli when you like spinach. There has to, or you like cauliflower. There has to be something for me to know that you like what you like and I understand what you like. Like when you're feeding a baby, the baby doesn't like this food, you're gonna try something else until you're like, okay, the baby likes this, the baby doesn't like spice, the baby doesn't like seafood, the baby doesn't like, you know, sugar, whatever it is, doesn't like cereal, whatever it is, you will know because of the facial reaction, and you also know based on the response you get. It's like a direct response. If I do something, you're going to receive something back. If I give you a hug, you're going to give me a hug back. So there has to be a response to that. Now, I sent an email, and to my surprise, I was actually surprised because we sent out an email, and out of the responses that we got, 3% was text, 94% is audio, 3% video, and image is 0. So I'm like, huh. And now, Andrea, you say image. So it's very diverse. We It's very, very diverse. And that's why I love to hear this and see this because it makes somebody want to connect. So why would you prefer image over the other three?
It's because it's the way I digest information. If I'm reading anything, I always try to have an imagery of that for me to understand what the person is talking about. So I create an image in my mind to see if I've understood that. So image and colors are the way for me, because I like colors as well. I'm a bright, when I wear clothes as well, I'm thoughtful of everything. So I'm thoughtful in the way my appearance is and stuff like that. So if somebody sends me an email, if there's too much text anyway for me, it will probably give me anxiety. If the text is really minimal, I'm more likely to read it. I feel like, okay, it's something quick. And it depends as well the colors of the text. If the colors of the text is black, it's great because I feel like that's professional. But in terms of it, like if it's a promotion or something, I need a picture to it for me to be ecstatic. about what you're trying to give me or promote to me. That's why image is important to me.
I love that idea that you brought up because from what I'm hearing, it's like you want to also take time to read what you're seeing, but also understand the image that you're being displayed. Like what you're looking at is you're trying to figure out, okay, is this something I want to proceed with or something I'd
Yeah,
rather not? Okay,
yeah,
okay. D says an image can be without 1,000 words as well as a picture. So
yeah.
true. That is so true. Hmm. Okay. I'm loving the feedback today because it's very specific. It's not over the top. It's very like specific. So this is really really good. I love to hear this. Hey Carrie, welcome to the room. Good morning.
Hi, Favor. I think it's funny that I came in the room when you said a picture's worth 1,000 words.
We just called you. We just called you in. D was like, "Yeah, bring Carrie in."
You're like, universe, get Carrie.
So this was good. This was good. It's the timing. It's really the timing. You see? D said something at the right time. I responded, and then Carrie showed up, and then Eric lifted his hand, and then Andrea waved. Like, look at that reaction just now. It's like a tidal wave. So I love that we're talking about this as well. Miss Andrea, did you want to say something, or were you saying hi before we go to Eric?
Hey, it's Eric.
Oh, I was just greeting Kerry. That's all. Mhm.
Sorry, sorry for stepping. Um, it's interesting that image because as a storyteller and an author and a publisher, I rely on words. But when I build a story, I build it from an image that I'm either holding or the author is holding. So when somebody tells me that they rely on image, I'm curious if they rely on the image for the whole story or to evoke the emotion. The other day, I saw this picture. Don't ask me where I saw it. I say that all the time. But it was of an old water fountain or water spigot, like the one outside your house. And there were all these different color rubber bands around it type thing. And in it flat and in like before I could finish, I'm like, oh my God, that's the history of summer. The water balloon remnants when we were trying to blow them up on the faucet and they would explode and leave that little ring. In that one image, that whole story of a summer, or my summer at least, was contained. And so I think a great image, and I'm sure Carrie thinks of as she's creating images, what is the story that I need to capture that everybody can connect to in such an emotionally impactful way that they can't escape it? And I think as you're writing, so often people try and explain what the story is versus what the emotion or what the image is versus what the emotion is.
I love that. What do you think, Carrie and Andrea?
It's all about emotion. So my job for, really 30 years was to create a cover image that would cause enough reaction within you that you would pick it up or purchase it. And that is so powerful, really. And it was it it really was the entire revenue of the magazine because if the cover didn't work, forget about the inside pieces. So that I didn't realize, thank God, when I started shooting covers at 20, I didn't realize that all the impact. I just knew that I had really one skill set that I could do that. As I got older, I really realized that that i- image was energy and it was a connector. It was connection. And I could bring in really anyone that I wanted in my life through imagery. I know it sounds totally woo woo, but it's true. Because if you buy a print, say like fine art, I didn't start fine art till a lot later in my life, just because I like pretty things. And my specialty was connecting with people and photographing people, so I didn't attempt fine art until a lot later. And it's definitely hard to do, but when you print something that's like magnificent in size and has energy and love, it changes the dynamic of the room. It changes the space within your home. So it's just photography is a very powerful medium, and I feel like I'm going to be teaching it somewhere in my life later. Um, it just will always mean a lot to me. So that's my take on that.
I love it that you did cover design, Carrie, because when we're designing books, so often I'll say, what is the energy of the author? Or what is the energy of the story? Or what is that feeling we need somebody to settle on as they're reading the title? And though, and in art that, the thirds and the proportions are important, I can pick up when our Jamie, who is an amazing cover designer, hands me a cover, I'll be like, oh, that feels so still or peaceful. And it's like, it's weird to express an image and a feeling. And I'm like, that's the author. And another one, I'll be like, oh, like you have to have that moment when your book cover is finished. Now, in some genres, I'll grant that there's always the shirtless guy, but that's more of an identifier tag versus an emotional response. And I remember being on a walk with my son, and we went past this art gallery, and I stopped in front of a picture. He was about 6 or 7. I said, "What do you think of this?" And we paused, and he looked, and he goes, "It's too loud for me." And I thought, what an interesting response. It's too loud. It's behind glass and almost 3 feet away from us. But because it was an abstract and it was a very chaotic and colorful and large abstract, his immediate response was to pull back and move away from it versus spend time with it. And I think, to Favor's point, when you're marketing to your audience, and you just pick a stock image and you throw it up there because it fits the square, you better slow down and go like, okay, is this creating the emotion that I need them to settle into before they read the text? Because a book cover, and I know it's what I do all day, I have to talk about it. Carrie and I will do book covers. She'll tell you how to make good art, I'll tell you how to make good books. But I need a buyer to look at that and go, I feel so peaceful looking at this cover. I'm going to love spending time with this author. And if the author writes in a chaotic, hectic, frantic way, they're going to put the book down because their expectation didn't match. If I pick up your email and I see an image that doesn't connect to me emotionally, positive or negative, I'm not going to read the message that you want to contain. And I think somebody said something about color and font and layout. That first appears to us as an image. Like, is it chaotic or is it organized? Is it tight or is it loose? So sorry to take over, Favor.
No, thank you for bringing this up. Go ahead, Carrie. I'm loving this.
I love this. Like, I totally need to collaborate or work with you, Eric. So your son was correct. That was an emotional response, which I just spoke about. And so I have a memoir coming out about my dating experiences, and it took me 6 years to write. I didn't know I could write, actually. And it's been a love letter to my magazine, The Improper Bostonian, in a way, because it all happens in the city and at the magazine. And by the time I got the book to the point that it's at, I was going to take it to one of the big five publishing houses. And I thought about it and I decided that I wasn't going to do that because I wanted creative control over my cover. And I wanted to take that self portrait of myself, of my own story, because because who can do both, right? Write it and then shoot the cover. And I had my art director who's unbelievable. He was my art director for 28 years and he worked at all the big magazines in New York City. And I wanted it to have a distinct editorial flair, really. And there's all sorts of editorial nods within every inch of real estate on this cover. And I took the portrait of myself, which was very difficult to do with a cable release, a tripod. Don't recommend doing this. And I had one idea, and then I had the image and I sent it to my art director. And I said, now bring it to life. And I never fought any of the choices because that's what we did forever. And those are all like every piece of it is so well thought out, and it's controversial. Yay. I'm excited because everyone has an opinion because it's different and it pushes boundaries, and that's what I want. I actually had a friend who's a musician who um, I asked him to read a chapter about a musician, and he's a famous musician, and he had all this feedback that I thought was pretty entertaining and very well thought out. So I love going to people who have insane expertise in a certain area and asking for their critique because their critique is so valuable, and I love it. So I definitely love to have a conversation.
See, it's interesting because as you were describing it, and I was listening to your voice shift, it was like at first I thought, ooh, this cover's got to feel chaotic for some reason, almost frantic, almost shattered. But then as you started to tell the story, I could feel you settling in, like slowing, like moving towards that black and white side or towards that silhouette stillness, introspective kind of um, feel. And I thought, oh, how is she going to capture both of those emotions in a cover? And hopefully that's what you did, because as you told this story, I could feel this going from just popcorn kind of energy to almost like, I don't give a F what people think. This is me. And I'm
Yeah.
comfortable and I'm at peace with it. And if that's what the cover can display, as a reader, as a book buyer, I'm going to be like, oh, I got to know how that shift happened because I can see it in the cover, but I don't understand. Like the whole story isn't here, but there's enough of it that I want to see how she made that shift.
Wow, I'm like blown away. First of all, the cover's black and white, and it's a like a vignette. It's just a so the the book is called Shot at Love, and it's the first time that there's the camera has to be there to make it make sense. Because if you don't know me, that who I am as an artist, creator, photographer, that's who I am. That's who I'll always be. But I have this crazy life behind the scenes that I hid. So I wanted that. I wanted just like a glimpse, like kind of like Girl on the Train, just something to catch your eye. That there's me, but just a glimpse of me, so
Is
that
that
it's
in the
like
lens? Is that in the camera lens or
no,
the
no,
reflection of the
uh,
camera lens that cast?
no, because I'm a minimalist, and I've never used like a gimmick, although I'm surprised it didn't go in that direction immediately. But I went for a very stripped down. So if you think about my career is always creating like this incredible image of somebody that looks better than they are. But my book is comical but has a lot of pain. So my audience is someone who's struggling. So like my mom's like, "Oh, Carrie." Now I'm happy with it because I feel like it's authentic, right? So nothing works if it's not true. It just doesn't. So I know it had to be true to me. And my mom's like, "Oh, you're prettier than that." I'm like, "Mom, it's not about that. Like it's about catching someone's eye and connecting to the audience." And that's what I wanted more than anything. And I feel like, I mean, I'll send it to you if you want to look at it. But yeah, it's all those, like you said, the rule of thirds. It's like all those. It's like baking a cake. It has a certain amount of ingredients, not too many, not too little, not too much. It's just the right amount. And so I didn't want a stylist. I wanted to be me. And I think that was really important. And I think people miss the boat on that. They show up as their representative on a date. They show up as a representative at a shoot, and they have all the bells and whistles. But I'm 51 years old writing about being on Tinder. Like, I don't want any bells and whistles. It's no one, God gave me the story to write. That's why I had to just say, at some point, like, what would Annie Leibovitz do? Like, at some point, just being yourself has to be enough. And that's really how I approached it. So,
I can't wait to see it. And we'll give the room back to you at some point, Favor. So, just so you know. But what I think is funny is so often our authors will say, "Can I get a copy of my cover without the words? Because I want to make a poster of it, or I want to, have it in my office as just the cover design, the cover art." And if an author, somebody who's labored intensively, anybody that's written a book, is willing to strip their name off and the name of their book off just to enjoy the image, you can't tell me you can't judge a book by a cover. In like, they're willing to give up their entire just so they can have a picture of the artwork that tells the story that captured the 80,000 words they labored to tell. And that's where art, all that, I mean, that's what you're trying to teach us, Favor, is that we can't rely on one source, but we got to make sure all sources are supporting each other.
Exactly. Exactly. I love listening because I always talk a lot in this house, so me listening is a big relief. So thank you for that. That is huge. Your story, Carrie, is amazing. I love that you're bringing that to life because even the thought of it, like you were saying about Tinder, who's on Tinder right now, the age bracket is different, but there's a story to tell. Some people got married off Tinder when it was early days. I know somebody who's still married and he used Bumble and they are still married today. And it happens, but the stories are different everywhere. Everyone has their own unique story. So when you're getting to that affinity, that community, that persona, and that person who's going to read that story, it has to have that structure, like you said. So everything has to make sense from text to audio to video through the image because anything in an image, has a frame and videos also have frames. And when you have think about text, there's something called an iframe. So you're creating frames on the web, just like you have a frame in your house of a picture. That's the same way you're creating a framework on your website that's going to serve the community through the search engines that you submit your website to. So it's really important to look at these things. Like you mentioned about books. I just Googled book schema because that's the last thing I'm going to be talking about. We have about 16 minutes to go. And I wanted to save this last part so that anyone that's here listening, you can also think about this very critically when it comes to structure. Because there's one thing to have content, and there's one thing to have content with structure. Because when you have content with structure, you're building a house in X number of months because you want to achieve X number of goals. So if the KPI has to match, then we have to create a trajectory graph, a forecast that allows us to have a pathway to success. So the pathway to success on your website is always improving, always adding things to it, always giving context to it. So with books, when you Google book schema, there's something called schemantra.com. And they said that book schema properties has up to 130 properties. Now, let me kind of like give you a 30,000 viewpoint. The reason why Amazon.com is so big is because one, we all know they start off with books, right? But their website is heavy on schema because imagine 130 properties for one book times the number of books published on Amazon.com that they've already created in their system. All you have to do is just upload your book, make sure you fit the right eligibility requirements. You're able to do all those things, qualify yourself, and you're good to go. But on the back end, that technical schema that Amazon has in their Amazon Web Services, right, in the AWS system, is deep with schema. So that's why when you type in a book of an author, you see it on Google, you see it on YouTube, you see videos talking about reviews on the book. You're going to see those things there because they schema. So if everybody else is using schema. Me and what? Let me actually define what schema is, because I don't want this to go for anybody. Schema, right? When it comes to SEO, right? Because of course definitions have different meanings. But when you're thinking about schema from an SEO standpoint, right? You're looking at schema as rich, structured data. So, like on Pinterest, for example, what you consider as rich text is recipes, because recipes have ingredients, they have, formulas. You have to have a tablespoon, you have to have a teaspoon, a quarter. Like, you got to make sure that the measurements are right. If not, your food is going to taste something like something that's not on the menu, right? So you have to follow that, or spice it up the way you want to. You have free range, right? But the bottom line is you're baking a cake. The bottom line is you're making lasagna. Like, you have an end result, but to get to that end result, there's a process. So with rich text, with context, then you're adding your text, your image, your file, your video, your audio to the website. And then the schema is on the back end. So every article you see has something called article schema. Anything that, if you're like trying to buy shoes or trying to buy Christmas gifts, anything you see online anytime has schema, meaning that it has rich text. You've not bought the product, but you know how many star reviews it has. You know the product name, you know the price tag. You want to know if it's sold out or if it's on sale. You can see those things because you can see ribbons, you can see all those things on the front. You've not even clicked through to that link, but you can see everything from the first base. That is schema. That is product schema. So it builds over time because you're enabling people to learn more about what you do. So if you're thinking about your website and you want to have structured data, then you have to ask yourself the first question: what website am I building on? What website am I building on? Then when you know what website you're building on, then you're able to know where the schema and all the things could be added, because every website has its own way of placing codes. So it's not going to fit everyone at the same time. But when you have this schema and it's connected to your website on the back end, then you're giving the algorithm, you're giving search algorithms, you're giving the search engines more context about your product. So imagine if you have a YouTube video talking about this topic, fill in the blank, and you have a video schema, meaning that you have a video representation of the type of information you want to give, with the timestamps, with the video duration, with the, what it exactly means, who's a publisher. All those things are going to be put there. Those things make a lot of sense because even the upload date makes sense. If you guys click the link in the chat, we were doing an earlier discovery with Andrea, and we realized that this article you see in the chat. If you look at it right now, it says July 2024, but it was first published in 2008. But you will not see that 2008 because in the schema on the back end, they've updated it in a way that you will not see it. You're looking for a relevant, fresh. You don't care if it's 1998 content, as long as it's relevant to my day problem, my today issue, my today solution, then that's what I'm going to be paying attention to the most. And then when you add question marks, you're kind of like invoking emotion, because if I say today's Thursday, okay, today's Thursday. Yeah, it's Thursday. What day is it? Yeah, it's Thursday, but it may be Friday in Australia. So you start having a conversation because you've evoked an emotion. You've actually allowed someone to answer a question rather than just balance a statement, or just call a statement what it is. So using that and creating those content pieces will help you. You can go online and type in schema markup generator. They're free. You can go online and search, check them out. It's free. Like, it's free information. But if you don't understand the code, don't break the code. if you don't know the code. Like, just don't break it at all. So if you want to know how that works, then please reach out to me and we can have a conversation about it. You can click the link above and you'll see where it says book a call, and we'll have a call and talk about it so we can actually audit your site, look at what's missing, and then factor in those details, because this is just one piece of the pie. It's not going to fill, it's not the full meal. This is one critical part of the pie that's going to make the pie be eaten by everybody or by one person, because it's not accessible to everyone. So the more accessible you create content for people, the further you can be able to reach out. So that's why I'm mentioning this. If you want to dive in, skip the line, you can go to our SEO course and you can start off and, kick it off for $25 a month, learn how SEO actually works and get better, so that you can also do it yourself and learn. If you need support, if you need help, I'm here. This is a free space, and I love being on Clubhouse because this kind of information, you don't see it everywhere. And this is conversation we talk about. I would have never learned about, design, the way Eric described it with Carrie, with photos. Those are things I love to listen to because that's not my area of expertise, but I love that. My mom's an author. She's written about 8 books. My junior brother, he's writing a book right now, right? I'm a musician. I'm going to be 25 years in music, a quarter of a century next year, because I've dropped albums. I've been making music for a long time, and I'm also doing podcasts too. So all these things, text, audio, video, image, they all come together. My dad has albums as well. So just looking at music, art, science, data, these things are all relative. What the commonality between all these things is the message. What is the message? If the message resonates with the people will respond back to the message. If the message is not clear, people will ask for clarification. And when they ask for clarification, that's more time you're spending. So why not clarify it before you even ask, so that the clarification is clear before the question is asked. So there has to be a resemblance between those two. So I'm hoping you guys are learning something about this. Eman in Liverpool, welcome to the space. Eman, we'd like to pass it to you. Any comments on the topic today? Welcome.
Thank you so much, Favor. Hello, Miss Carrie, Eric in Liverpool, and everyone in the listening lounge. Actually, you covered all the topic in an amazing way, in my opinion. And for me, I'm gonna just highlight something specifically when it comes to structured and unstructured data. I don't know. I didn't attend the room from the first beginning, so I'm not really sure if we have um, explained specifically what is structured and unstructured data. Because for us as professionals, we might understand what is the definition of each, but I think we might love to highlight the definition of each one of them, because just as a reminder, even if we all know, um, that's something I would love to highlight. Just giving an example for each one, so we can, based on it, build the whole reference for either structured or unstructured data. And I think that to be able to call as some any amount of data as structured, it should be highly organized. The format can vary from database records, Excel sheets, customer relationship, like the CRM reports. All of it are very highly structured data, and then you can also add this scheme market or content on the websites, your shop on any website, your services, whatever it is, anything that is related to the connected to the payment gateway. That's highly structured data, and you can count on them because it's numerical data. For the unstructured data, guys, it's for me, it's kind of more of essay information. You should be reading, understanding, going through the process. For example, it's text, it's mails, social media posts, articles on blogs, and so on and so forth, videos, PDF, anything that is not structured as data or has a specific numerical or identified by numbers data. So for in this context, why we prefer for example the SEO, why do we prefer the structured data? Because the readability, number one, for the search engine optimization or for any search engine. I'm gonna look Carrie on Google, or she will be on Google, on LinkedIn. It will bring me her social media. But in order for me to count on those data, that that the search engine depends on her insights, her ranking, and so on and so forth. Also, as much as you can, uh, and this is something I always um, advise my clients with, is add numbers to the titles, whatever, or start the title, the blog with some numbers, kind of statistics, for example, because that's kind something like works like a magnet. Numbers for the SEO, and I know, I don't know, Favor, do you agree with me in this part or not? But let me hear from you now. Do you think that numbers are working as a magnet for the SEO? It catches the SEO just right away. You don't have to analyze anything. It's numbers means ranking. Do you agree? Yeah, I see
I
your thumb up.
agree. You're right. You're right. I mean, if you want to rank, I mean, let's go to the basics. I love making this very simple. SEO sounds so stretched, but it's simple. If you want to rank, you're going to use numerical values to rank. You're number one, you're number two, you're number three. If you're in the Olympics, you're first, your gold medal, your silver medal, your bronze level, right? One, two, three. So you're so right on that, because the keyword here is numerical, right? I'll give you some examples of structured data and I'll give you some examples of unstructured data. So I'll kick off with like the example when it comes to books, for example. So books are unstructured data. PDFs are unstructured data. What makes it structured? Because I want you to also see this here. It's not, when you hear unstructured, it doesn't mean that it's invalid. It means that it just needs enhancement, right? You can write a book, but if that book does not have an ISBN number, or it's not gonna fly. If it doesn't have a barcode, a serial number, it's not gonna get to that point. If I'm going to a store and I scan this barcode, am I gonna get the product of that exact code? I'm in the entertainment business industry too. So with music, you have codes, because when you now submit those codes to Nielsen, which is where you're able to now start tracking royalties, licenses, and that thing for music, it's a whole different discussion with music. But when you have that structured data, unstructured data could be a song on SoundCloud. It could be a song in your files folder. It could be a song on Facebook, right? But it's structured when you can actually get to know who's the singer, the songwriter, the engineer, the producer, the timestamp, the album cover. You get to see those things because that's structure. So examples of structured data is like dates and times. Having numbers, like Iman said, is very important. Odd numbers do better than even numbers online. That's why people say things cost $97. That was two odd numbers, 5 tips, 10 top. Like you hear those things, it's cool. But would you rather go to a top 5 or a top 10? Most people would do a top 5 because they have less time to read and they have more, discovery to look through. When I say discovery, I don't mean just discovering more. I mean going in depth in the discovery mode. What did you want to say? Amen. Please go.
No, I
You
really
know what's
agree.
inter-
Go ahead, Eric.
you know what's interesting, and when you say that, Flavor, I often think of it in the same structure as when we start dividing and formatting the interior of a book. It's like there is a certain standard for how books have to visually appear, chapter, subtab, where the fonts line up. All of that is within this standardization in the structure, where the copyright page versus the author, all of that structure is required for the comfort of the reader. And I don't say that to make them happy. It's they have an expectation of where to find things so that then they can decide whether they're going to use that data or not to make a decision. The same as when you're building websites and SEO and content, Google and all of the other people have a structure of like, I need to go find this data so I can put it in this column so then I can rank it into this category so that when Eric comes to look for it, it shows up quick and easy. And when people decide that, well, I'm going to break the structure because I'm an artist and I have to be an individual, it's like, go ahead. You have that freedom and right. But you also, I just saw this video. It's like, so you want freedom without responsibility. Oh, I get it. You want to be a kid or a baby. If you want to break the structure, then you abandon the right to take advantage of those search engines, that optimization, that ranking and things. And so, yeah, you're right. Like, there is a structure, and the more you know the structure, the more you can manipulate the freedom within the structure. It's like you can say anything you want about the author, but it has to be in a certain place. Otherwise, it's not going to be seen for what it's supposed to be seen. And so, yeah, I battle authors all the time. It's like I know what you want to do, and I love you for your creativity. However, pricing your book 3 times the average because you think you're worth it, you're going to be so kicked out of the ballpark that that Google, though I realize he's not a real person, getting closer, is going to think you made a mistake and put you to the side until he can deal with you as a problem. So I love the idea of putting structure to things that feel like they should be free.
Oh yeah. Go ahead, Carrie.
Okay. So this is going to be interesting because I battled with this I think my whole life. When I started to compete in photography, I didn't even want to compete. I didn't even know how to compete. I didn't even know WPPI, PPA, all these different organizations. And I had a printer who said to me, Carrie, I just love what you're doing and I'm going to enter it myself. And I did very well right out of the gate. And I don't compete anymore because I don't want to be Elton John with a cocaine habit. Like it just didn't serve me after a while. I learned a lot in the process, but I didn't want to do it forever because it was too much. There was too much association with ego. So why am I telling this story? Because I didn't know the rules when I was competing, but I was winning. And so I went to one of the judges and I said, what am I doing?" And I broke all the certain rules in photography, but the images were strong. But my scores were inconsistent. Like I would get a perfect score and then I'd get thrown out. So there are rules, and I learned this the hard way in writing. And because there's rules as well. So there's, I think, 7, and Eric could probably tell me, there's 7 different types of writing styles that readers can identify with. So I got set up for success early on because someone told me, read these 7 different styles. I'm like, I'm out. I'm not going to be able to do this. And they said, no, listen to 7 different audiobooks of 7 different authors that use these 7 different styles. Find one that you think you can do. And I found one that I felt I could not copy, but stay within the parameters. So this is just my feedback around the rules, and I am someone who breaks them constantly in art. So that it's like it's a hard battle, but I've had to really be humbled and learn through all my years of doing these things. So that's my take.
Thank you for letting us know this. I mean, rules. Sometimes people say rules are meant to be broken, because when you say "don't touch that," and then you're like, "What does this button do?" People kind of start thinking out the box because they want to figure it out and they want to discover it, right? And that's fine too. Like for me, I remember a story for me. Like I tried to drive when I was 2 years old. I took the keys and I couldn't reach the pedal when I was trying to attempt it. Because you try to do things like because your mind is telling you one thing and your body's telling you another thing, your heart is telling you another thing. It's like you're always in a consistent battle trying to figure out, okay, am I gonna do this? Am I not gonna do this? Should I eat apples? Should I eat oranges? Should I have coffee? Should I have water? Like there's always gonna be a question in mind.
Anything but broccoli. Anything but broccoli, no. For me, I don't eat broccoli. So anything but broccoli.
We actually talked about it earlier. I was like, if you want broccoli, why am I gonna serve you spinach or cauliflower? I talked about that earlier. So we're on the same page, You see? My mind is really like on a high alert. Like I look at things, sometimes things happen. I'm like, I actually thought about it. I'm like, do I have a superpower? Because I can think through things and it's like, oh yeah, I was thinking about you too. When like, oh yeah, but I made the move. So it's very important to look at these things because structure is important. Like the country has structure, the library has structure, your playlist has structure from song one to the last song. Your house has structure. Your kitchen has structure. Your backyard has structure. Like you have structure. You know everything has structure, including your website. But if your website is not structured, then there's a problem, a big problem. So we're gonna fix that problem for sure. And I hope this conversation is helping you think through the problem so you can, create the solution as well, for that big opportunity that you can actually have as well. Liverpool, would love to hear from you. Welcome to the space. Good afternoon. Anything you'd like to add to the conversation, feel free. Liverpool's like, I'm not coming on the microphone today, but thanks for being here. And if you're, yeah, I just knew it. Something had to be happening. It's okay. No problem. Pesman says, I didn't write this. A yellow page popped up and I clicked accept. Even so, I agree with it. Okay. Oh, the yellow page. Okay, at the top. Okay. Yeah, I know. It's okay. Yeah, the yellow bar. I don't know why Clubhouse just has this funny, it's green and then it's yellow and then it's red. I mean, it's colors, right? You know what the colors mean. So it's very, very important to look at that. Carrie says I can't even make coffee right now. Forget about art. You see? So it's important. I did a LinkedIn poll asking my community, hey, what do you guys like? What's the first thing you have in the morning? Water, coffee, juice, or tea? And I was surprised by what I saw because I was like, okay, people are interested. I did the same thing on Threads. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the email. Why am I asking these questions? Why am I really curious? I don't want to know whether you drink alkaline water or you like your coffee without sugar. Like those things is up to you. Like, do you? I love it. But why I'm asking that question is because if I know you need coffee in the morning, if I know you need tea in the morning, if I know you need juice in the morning. What kind of juice? Is it apple juice? Is it cranberry? Is it pomegranate? Is it grape juice? Is it passion fruit? If it's water, is it cold water? Is it warm water? Like now we get into the details and that changes everything. Like right now, Liverpool's eating something. So I don't know. That's your preference. Eamon doesn't like broccoli. So everybody has something they have to go with. So you have to really understand what is the common denominator, what is the affinity score. When you look at structured data, you're looking at the demographics, you're looking at the psychographics, and you're looking at the social graphics. Go ahead, Eric, before we go to Richard.
I think to that too, when you do a poll, I love leaving the other or open box because that to me is often where the gold is. Because we'll force ourselves into a choice just to participate. We just finished the elections. That should tell you everything. Because we don't want to be left out of making a choice. We want to be included in a community, even if we say water, but what we really mean is cucumber water or something like that. And so having that other dials in, it almost helps you find that blue herring, as they say in marketing, uh, in an open sea. I think it's interesting, a while ago, um, Flavor, you used a term that's still running, my junior brother. And that would be something that, like, it's already like, okay, he's didn't, like, his language profile is not within my normal community. Where's he from? What's he do? Why junior? Like, all of those word, that one word starts to pull you out. And I'm like, this may be my new clients, my new demographic, social graphic, whatever you want to call it, because I haven't heard that expression before. And if I overlook that cucumber water junior brother, I could be losing a whole piece of audience.
It's about the semantics. It's all about
So
the
if you have
semantics.
three brothers, is it junior, 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 and little brothers, or how do you define a, like like is there classes beyond junior?
That's a great question. Well, I've never really put it in classes because it's just me and my brother. People think I'm the only child. For some reason, I was the only child for 7 years before my brother came. And full transparency, we had about, I think, 2 miscarriages. So I think there was sisters. So I don't have any sisters, but I've always loved being around, and I think that's why I really connect, right from my mom all the way down. So my brother is a junior. I say junior because he would call me senior. So if it's, I would say it's relative. So let's say you're 5 in the house and you have a junior brother, you would say your immediate junior brother. Somebody would say immediate because that's right next to you. But if you say junior brother, it's like, who are we talking about? Is it this one or that one? So I don't really think there's a structure. It's talking about structure, but it's just based on how somebody receives it. So I love that you picked on those words too, and Gianna also picked on those words too.
Thank you for sharing, because I love that expression of my junior brother. And especially, I'm not a brother. Well, I have 4 sisters, so I'm the only brother. And oddly enough, 2 of my sisters married Erics, which only is a testament to how fabulous I am as a brother. They had to go find their own Erics. But when we're all together, we'll hear brother Eric, first Eric, and newest Eric, because that was the order in which they came into the marriage. And so, but yet, if all of us Erics are sitting in a room and we hear our names, we can immediately know which Eric, because it's like, oh, it's that Eric. Like, you heard the way she dropped that hard C versus that soft R. Um, but again, it's all in language. And when you're doing audio marketing, having terms like junior brother and speaking to an American audience that might not use that term could cause you sales. And I know this sounds really silly, but my brain has been circling around that term junior brother. And there may be really valuable content after that, maybe, big joke. But there's valuable content after that. But because I used something, a phrase, a word, a term that was out of character for the audience gets hung up on that and misses the rest of the audio message.
Exactly. And it goes into what you're saying because I can type one thing and the algorithm will give me another thing. I might just type in junior brother on Google, I might get little brother. It might be something different, but when you're able to semantically bring them together, you're creating a structure on the web that attains and pertains to all the communities that are involved, especially if you have a global audience. Like for my audience on the We Don't Play podcast show, we reach 120 countries. Yesterday we had an interview. So I interviewed somebody all the way from the Netherlands. He's German, and we were talking about AI and SEO. So these are people who you're connecting with all over the world. You're like, okay, I'm hearing you, I'm listening because they're different accents. We have from Australia, from Poland, from India. So you just don't know. And that's the beauty of podcasts because the more you're able to feed into algorithm, the more you're able to give structure. And that's why you can end up on, voice search, like on Alexa or Siri. Our podcast is now being captured on Siri, on Alexa. So people type in, say, I'm trying to find this episode. Alexa, tell me this. And then our episode pops up as a result. Why? Because of structure. We just didn't show up with a title, episode one, season this, this is the flower. Like we're very structured with like, this is the information that we want to deliver, and we're going to deliver it conveniently so that you can make sure you can access it anytime that you want continuously. So that's where structure comes in, and it's a very important, piece to look out for as well. Richard, we'd love to hear from you, and then we'll come to Liverpool. I don't know if you're still eating, but Richard, we'd love to hear your thoughts. And we're on the water gang, so me and you are the same as well. How are you?
I'm doing good, Favor. Yes, the water gang. So I just want to say that the water is one of the most underlooked, I won't call it a resource, but underlooked item for health, for mental, physical health. A lot of people are dehydrated. So just get that gallon of water in, give or take, depending on your activity level, and just focus on that. So that will be the input. But yeah, definitely you want the structure of your data, and like Eric said, you want that. Maybe it's called a subset of the audience, and then you can really hyper focus your branding on who you're looking for. So I think that's very, very important to get that. Then you can craft your message to resonate with that person. So, example with my business, um, all of my clients, their number one priority above everything else is their family. Doesn't matter their age, their race, their religion, where they live at, anything of that nature. So you need to find that for your target audience and stop trying to be everything to everybody. One of the top mistakes that most business owners make. So drink the water, junior brothers.
I love that. That's definitely the keyword of the day. Junior brothers, drink your water. That should be on like a t-shirt. Yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate you for saying this, because when you look at unstructured, just look at water. Water is unstructured, but the structure of water is H2O. So when you start thinking about the pH level, you start thinking about the concentration value, you start thinking about the amount, the ounces, that structure. Am I going to buy a liter of water, or am I buying a gallon of water? Am I buying 5 gallons of water, or am I buying a tub? Am I buying a swimming pool, or am I going to the ocean? Am I going to the beach? Like, there's still water. Even if you're drinking coffee, that's liquid. It's still water concentrate. It's still in the water. Something is in the water. So if you look at the big picture and really ask yourself, what am I really doing? Even the oil that you're cooking with, that structure, because the way the food's going to taste is based on the oil that you use. Are you going to use oil? Are you going to use butter? Like, there's structure to everything. That's why I'm not just calling it SEO, it's information. It's intel. The more you're able to drive traffic, use numbers, use statistics, use infographics, use imagery, like pique someone's interest, then that way they're interested in you. If I'm not interesting, there's nothing to point at. You know how they say point of interest? There's nothing to point at. If there's something to point at, that means there's an interest in something. And that interest appreciates over time. I might like cookies today. I may never eat another cookie again after a year from now. That's because of structure. Maybe something happened. Maybe I don't like pasta. Maybe I don't like garlic. Maybe I don't like broccoli. So those are things that you like or you don't like. Maybe I don't like cheese. So all those things are structured because how you cook is the outcome of what you're putting in. They say you are what you eat. So whatever you're feeding into the algorithm is what the algorithm is feeding back to you. If it's feeding good things, it means that you're doing good things. When you have a good wife, when you have a good woman, when you have a good, person, and also vice versa for the man too, then you get to feel like you're peaceful. You get to feel like there's structure. You feel like, okay, we can both do this. Teamwork makes the dream work. That's structure. So everything has structure. God made structure for a reason. Like he made the world in 7 days, 6 days, and rested on the seventh. That's structure. He didn't spend 14 days doing it. He didn't spend an hour doing it. So when we look at everything from who we are, even it took 9 months for us to be here out of love, that's structure. that's time. A baby develops. So we can't ignore this. So I don't think SEO, think people, think human beings, think life, think community. And then the more you're able to think about that, the less you're going to think about SEO. Liverpool, coming to you before we wrap up. Anything you'd like to say before we wrap up the room?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So I came at the tail end of the room, but it's been, from what I've heard so far, it's been really, 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 really interesting. You always come up with really great topics that are very informative and everything. So one thing that's very important is, you know, with in life is that, you know, mm, data is very, very good. It's very, 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 very rich. You know, all forms, different kinds of data and everything. So, you know, and I think with the structured and unstructured data and everything like that is there needs to be an equal balance of both because there's pros and cons of using both of them. But it's also very important as well that, you know, do you know that in the data is kept in what's it called? It's organized very, very well so you don't lose it, which is where the structured data really comes into it, you know, because you know there's also different forms of data. So you've also got qualitative and quantitative data. So obviously the quantitative data focuses on the numbers, whereas the qualitative will focus something other than the numbers. So for example, it could be an interview as an example of an example of qualitative data, if I've got that correct. So yeah, very important to have the mixture of the both as well. So yeah, another thing that you mentioned as well is um is also schema, which is very, very, very good for which is also very, very good for SEO, um, which improves your searchability on the internet and things like that because obviously everybody's using the internet and everybody is a lot of people that have businesses or what have you out there can often get lost, especially when you look at something like Google, for example. Google is very, 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 very popular. So sometimes your business may not even come up the top when you put up a particular word. Let's say, for example, somebody wants to go and buy, I don't know, let's say water, for example, and you've got a business that sells water. And let's say you're not as big as, let's say, Evian. So obviously Evian's obviously going to be up the top because they're a lot bigger. They have more of a popular market. They have more of a bigger market, etc., etc., etc. But yeah, with SEO, it kind of narrows down the search and it takes away basically all the crap. Because, like I said, you know, as I said this all before, no product is really, really, really unique anymore. Nobody can say I have a unique product because they basically serve the same purpose. But it's very important as well that we have what we call a USP, a unique selling point that will make us stand out from just being a brand of water or just being a brand of shoe or just being a brand of phone and so on and so forth. So it's very important as well. And also with this type of data, it also narrows down the type of market that you want to be selling to, for example, because you know, with a lot of businesses as well, you may have an idea that you want to sell to this type of, let's say 60 plus, for example, and that market that you're tapping into might not be very feasible, it might not be well profitable. So it also gives you an idea when you do your market research of the areas that are untapped, are not tapped into, and it gives you much more exposure, much more profit, etc., etc. That also narrows down the market and everything like that, and give you what your customers want. There's a special term that it called market segmentation. That's what it's called. I'm sorry, yeah, no, but yeah, that's what I would say. But it's very, 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 very important. But as I said before, to cut a long story short, I think it's very important to have an equal balance of both, because, like I said, there's pros and cons in using both of them. So yeah, that's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that in. I'm glad that you talked about the segmentation piece, because without segmentation, it's hard to tell who's really connecting with you. Tomorrow, okay, I'm going to say this now. Let me know in the chat. I have two topics in mind. Email marketing, email market segmentation. We're just on the same wavelength today. I don't know what's going on, because I was thinking about two things. Email marketing segmentation, or voice search, like, prepare for Alexa, for Siri, for Cortana. Which one out of those two topics, because tomorrow is a Friday, so which one out of those two topics would you want us to talk about tomorrow? I want to see which, because I don't want to bring something you guys don't care about. That would not help anyone, and I want to help, the people who need the help, so it's specific. Okay. We got two now. We got both of them. You see, I had a problem with choosing now. Okay, we have to see the poll. Now we have to see a poll. So email is two, voice is one. Okay. Thank you, Empress. Thank you, Soda. Thank you, D. Okay, guys, put in the chat. By the end of this room, we're gonna know where segmentation. Oh, okay. It's getting steep. Soda, we'd love to hear from you. Voice, how are you?
Good. I don't like topics of the email, so obviously I'm going to choose a voice. And also, I've never heard anyone talk about that, so that's why I was interested.
Okay, I'll bring it. I'll bring it tomorrow.
And we could do it
I,
another
I'll
day or in private, since I'm in your course now.
yay. Trigger of the court. We're gonna meet today. I'm excited about you being Soda. I'm really excited, especially with your animations, with your painting, with your art. Yeah, it's about to take off. Like all this structure we're talking about today, it's happening. It's gonna happen. So by the time we're coming back in the new year, it's gonna be a whole different thing. So yeah, it's very important to look at it, and I'll bring that topic up for sure for voice. Liverpool says I've overflogged. Kidding. I really have. I really have. Go ahead, Eric, please.
So I was going to make it harder on you because why not? Is it the voice of the author, i.e., the writer of the email, the voice of the ideal customer or avatar you're speaking to, that you're going to be reflecting in the email? Because, as writers, we sometimes say, well, is it the author voice, the narrator voice, or the character voice that I need to check? And so there are multiple voices even within a single email.
Why am I going through this trivia? Eric, you made it like three times harder. Um, I think people should choose. I think the people should choose. I want you guys to
Yeah,
vote, because I don't want to choose for them,
I was going to say, and when you said choose, I was going to say, once they choose a voice for their email, they've got to stay consistent. Otherwise, it looks like either AI took over or their secretary took over and they've abandoned the group, which is a really bad disconnect for client relationships. So if you change your voice mid email sequence, suddenly somebody's like, wait a minute, I trusted Soda. This doesn't sound like Soda's email. Where'd she go? What'd she do?
I think we can deep dive into that one. I see where you're going with this contextually. Yes, 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 yes. Because emails, like, you can Fiverr your emails out easy, right? But are they gonna stay or are they gonna grow with you? It's a big question. Yeah, you're so right on that. And then also even acquiring emails that are email domains, emails. In other words, your people that are signing up to your email list have at domain or at yourdomain.com or at theirdomain.com as opposed to at gmail.com. Yeah, you can have at gmail.com, but you want to balance the equation because the more domain emails you're sending traffic to, you're dealing with IP addresses, you're dealing with social signals, you're dealing with networks, you're dealing with clicks, you're dealing with conversions. So these things are all going to play. So the name of your link, if somebody clicks click here or clicks read now and it goes to your blog, and that person that received the email received it on their workspace email, that's a good indication because you're doing email communication, you're doing brand communication, you're leveraging brands so that your authority even scores up even in more value. So I will definitely, yeah, bring up the topic of the segmenting as far as the voice, so that you're not also using AI, but you're also using a lot of things. Even with the HTML, like people don't use italics, they don't use bold, they don't use underlines, they don't use colors, they don't use numerical bullet points or just bullet points in general. Those things go a long way. The depth, what is a heat map of your email? How far does someone scroll? If I get your email and I have to scroll maybe with four thumbs or I'm swiping four times, then I'm not really ready for this email and I'm just gonna go out, just like Liverpool said. I'm not gonna, go to it so that doesn't like emails. She's not gonna read it. But if I have an email with a video that says in the subject line, here's a 2-minute video you can watch to learn about this, they're going to read it. They're going to click through to it. And they're going to actually, you're going to deliver on your brand promise because you said 2 minutes. Now they're going to watch 2 hours. Now they're going to unsubscribe because you are not loyal from the start. You are not sincere from the start. You are not real from the start. So it's big. So we'll definitely dive into that, Eric, and also voice. So what I'll do, the majority said email segmentation. So I'll do the email, and especially in the voice, it's specifically to that when it comes to SEO. And then I'll do the voice. I'll probably do that on Monday because not everyone's on Clubhouse during the weekends. I have SEO Sundays as well in the evenings around 6 p.m. Central, but I'll bring it for Monday so that it's fresh. We kick off the new week with voice because we're all using our voices here. So how can we make our voices heard? So, but Soda, I'll definitely tap into voice later today when we speak. So at least you can get some insights on that. This has been a great room, y'all. We've covered a lot today. We've covered a lot today, and I'm hoping that this makes sense and you can take action. We've been here for 2 hours and 3 minutes. So I'm hoping that the information is helpful. It's not just overwhelming, because that's the last thing I want to do. I'd rather not say a word than overwhelm you, because the point of this discussion is to help you see clearly, kind of like wipe your dashboard so that at least you can see the road clearly and see exactly what to pay attention to on the road, so that when you're driving, you're also not hitting the wrong curbs, or you're not stepping on the wrong toes. You shouldn't be stepping on toes in the first place. So that way you're able to stretch and really give somebody that longevity over time. Does anyone want to say anything or say anything before we wrap up? Anything I missed out? Any question? I'm opening the floor up to the chat and also to the stage.
Favor, I just have to ask because I'll forget. I definitely need to learn how to put my podcast on Pinterest. And I'm so technically challenged, but that's one of my goals is I want to try to do that. And I still haven't set up my flow desk. I'm like, I can be in Favor's room though for 2 hours today, but I can't do any of these things. But yeah, so that's one topic that I'd love you to cover.
Okay, I'm writing this
I
down.
agree. I
Go
really
ahead,
want to
sir.
learn more about Pinterest.
Yeah, I'll bring, actually, you know what? Because it's holiday season, I'll bring a lot more Pinterest topics. Because this year I said I wasn't gonna do a lot of Pinterest because I kind of overdid it last year. So I don't want to, like, this year was LinkedIn, podcast, you know, making sure SEO is tight. Email marketing. Email marketing was huge for me this year. So I'll bring Pinterest now because it's holiday season. There's a lot of things going on with Pinterest, by the way. They've incorporated AI into your advertising. I'll talk about that as well and give you guys some insights. And we do work with people that add our Pinterest. So I'm always getting like really cool insights to know what's going on. So we'll talk about Pinterest. We'll dive deeper into it and use it for the holiday season so that if anyone's thinking about Pinterest, whether it's product search, whether it's brand relative, whatever it is that has, even if you're not on Pinterest, but you're using it for something, definitely we're going to cover that. So thank you for saying that, Carrie. I appreciate that, as well as Soda. Thank you for that insight, and Dio also approves. So thank you for that insight as well. So appreciate you all for being here in the room today. It's been a great time. I've learned a lot from you. I've learned about books, designs. I didn't know Junior Brother was a big thing. So now I know, so it's very exciting to really know how we can connect with people and learn about all this great stuff. So thank you, Andrea, Eric, Liverpool, Richard, Carrie, Soda, Ryder, Amanda, Pesman, Amanda, and Najami. Thanks for all being here, and everyone as well who's listening to this replay. I appreciate you all. Yeah, the replays are available. So please tap on the three dots on the top right, and you'll be able to save the replay and go back to when we talked about it. We really went deep into it. Like it was a whole conversation on its own. It feels like it was part of the movie. Like when you're watching a movie, there's a section you got to watch before you continue. It felt like that, which was really good. So that's why I love conversations like this, because it helps us think outside the box and we just don't look within. We actually throw away the box, like a lot of people say, and just focus on the canvas and then paint your picture. So I appreciate you all. Connect with me here on Clubhouse and also off Clubhouse, and we'll definitely have some good conversations. If you want to start the course and you want to get into the course, the SEO course and the Pinterest course, it's available. Click the link above, and once you tap in and get your connections, you'll see what the surprises are in there. I don't want to surprise you. I want you to be surprised, if that makes sense. So you can go in there and enjoy, learn a few things, and get more insights. If you want to do the work hand in hand with me and with my team, we can definitely get you on board and get you sorted out so that you don't have to stress about all this technical stuff. And we just do it for you hands free so that you can also focus on your administrative duties and all the great stuff that you have to do. And we're just pretty much giving you light. We're just like the light bearer. We're like the lighthouse. You operate everything. We just turn the lights on for you. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Have a blessed Thursday. And I'm going to see you guys tomorrow.